Hey everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to my channel, A Meteorologist Chasing Fire. In part 1 of how I'm using growth ETFs to pay my mortgage, I quickly described what is fire and the 5 different types. In today's video, I want to talk more about the various paths to reach fire and show how my wife and I will travel what I call the hybrid simple path to wealth to reach fire. From what I know, exploring the realm of personal finances, there are 3 different types of paths to reach fire. The first is the Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. The second is the Simple Path to Wealth with Dividend Growth Investing using ETFs from Jake on his YouTube channel, Dividend Growth Investing. And the third is what I call the Simple Path to Wealth. J.L. Collins and his path revolves around investing solely into the Vanguard Total Stock Index Fund. With this fund, it allows you to invest into every company in the US, making it as diverse as a fund as it comes. So how this path works is that the individual, once they reach their fire date, they can sell shares to pay for their living expenses or to take a chance in a life or another job. Simply, the path gives you options in life and allows you to have the best type of money in the world to have, which is the FU money. The only small drawback with this path is that your portfolio is reliant on the performance of the market, which includes the ups and the downs. The simple path of wealth using dividend growth ETFs from Jake focuses on doing an even split between SAHD and DGRO. This could be a 45-45 or a 40-40 split, and also adding a few satellite positions like DGRW or individual stocks. On the simple path of wealth using dividend growth ETFs, the end result is being able to retire solely based on the dividend income, and the individual does not need to sell shares to pay for the living expenses. This path gives you generational wealth to pass down, and you are not reliant on the timing of the market and when to sell. However, the only small drawback that I've found is that it does take a lot of capital to be able to live off the dividend income. Both the simple path of wealth and the simple path of wealth using dividend growth ETFs are pretty much foolproof ways and great ways to invest. Me being me, I mucked around and came up with a third path. The third path is what I call the hybrid simple path to wealth. The hybrid simple path of wealth combines both theories. So you have the dividend growth investing portfolio using ETFs like SAHD, DGRO, or individual stocks, and then you have a growth portfolio consisting of 3 growth ETFs being SAHG, SPYG, XLK, and then QQQM. To me, this is the best of both worlds as you get the dividend income and a growth portfolio to help cover the rest of your living costs. The path gives you ultimate options, but I think a bit more security having the annual dividend income. Based on a few calculations, I actually have found that it doesn't take quite as long or as much money to let your investments replace your working income. The only small drawback is that a part of your portfolio is reliant on the market, but that's where the security from the dividend income comes in. So, what are these mystical portfolios allowing my wife and I to potentially retire by the time we are 40? Well, they are not mystical at all. I try to be transparent and show how I invest and what I invest in. I showcased my dividend growth investing portfolio and mortgage fund in the past, but I also wanted to show off my wife's portfolio as well. I wanted to also take a second to set the scene. My wife and I are both meteorologists and have obtained our undergraduate and master's in atmospheric science. We are both very fortunate to have well-paying jobs for our age, and we both work our 9 to 5 while raising a little Doberman. We were not spoon-fed as kids, even though I was an only child, but don't focus on that, and we were not born into this world as millionaires. The money you see in our portfolios are from our hard-earned work and dedication to save as much as humanly possible, but trying to enjoy our lives at the same time. Simply, we were just very fortunate, and we played with luck pretty well. My wife uses Public to host her dividend growth investor portfolio, but M1 makes showcasing the portfolio just a bit nicer. My wife's portfolio is pretty close to Jake's method of using the simple path to wealth using dividend growth ETFs. So in her portfolio, she has SHD and DGRO allocated at 40%. For her satellites, she has DGRW at 10%. This is the monthly paying ETF. And then for a few growth ETFs, she has QQQM and XLK allocated at 5%. And these both focus more on technology. So when my wife and I made this portfolio, she wanted it to be simple so that for whatever reason she can manage it on her own. And also doing a few number crunches. Her portfolio is actually out before mine, so I have that hanging over my head as well. So I showed you my portfolio in my second ever YouTube video, but there have been a few changes. I also adopt principles from the Simple Path of Wealth using dividend growth ETFs, but also I like to invest in individual stocks. So I invest in 8 companies, including Apple, Costco, Lowe's, Microsoft, Kroger, Waste Management, Illinois Toolworks, and Union Pacific Corp. I have Apple, Costco, Lowe's, Kroger, Waste Management all allocated at 4%, and then Illinois Toolworks and Union Pacific Corp at 1%. The stocks allocated at 4% are companies that I believe will help me achieve FIRE, and I'll also bumped up allocations in DGRO, DGRW, and FDVV, as I think these ETFs should grow faster than SHG, primarily through how their index is set up, and I also just want a little bit more growth in my portfolio than dividends at the time being. So from last time, I've showcased my portfolio. I've actually sold two stocks and one ETF. I sold McDonald's, Pepsi, and DDT. McDonald's and Pepsi are great companies, but for me, I think for my timeline, they'll grow too slow. Um, they're really good companies. They're consistent, and they won't go away for a while. But after looking over the holdings that are in DGRO, and SHD, both companies are actually in the holdings of the ETFs. So even though I don't have those stocks in my portfolio, I am still exposed to them, which I like. The hybrid method is a simple formula of the dividend growth investing portfolio plus the growth portfolio. So we have my wife and I's portfolio, which are both dividend growth investing. And so when we reach FIRE, we shall together collect the dividend income to cover a portion of our living expenses and not sell shares. And the sell shares part is where, well, it can depend. All right, so if you have growth-oriented companies or ETFs in your portfolio, and let's say, for example, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, Apple, or technology ETFs like VGT or XLK, what you can do in the future is you can sell these, take advantage of the capital gains or appreciation, and then use the gains to put them in higher yielding ETFs like JEPQ or BYM to get more dividend income. And the next part is the hybrid part, and which in our case is the mortgage fund. So when time comes in the future, we can either sell completely out of the fund, transfer to our dividend growth investing portfolios, or we can instead, sell shares to cover the rest of our living expenses. Additionally, this fund can act as the Oh My emergency fund, whereas if you need a new roof, car, or really just for the oh shit moments, this portfolio can really come in handy. So, trying to wrap up numerous numbers into a nice, neat little package, I present the table before you. So, what you see here is a table that incorporates all of our portfolio data, which includes both the dividend and growth investing portfolios and the mortgage fund. In column C, this is the balanced total, which includes all three portfolios. Column D is the total dividend income for each year, and column E is the yearly distribution from the mortgage fund, which is the total balance of the account divided by 12 to get the yearly distribution part. And so the main question this table is trying to solve is, when can we retire? And to do so, what I do is I compare the combined column, which is column F, which is the dividend income plus the yearly mortgage distribution, to see when our investments could replace my wife and I's 9 to 5 in column G, right? Because the goal is to have your investments pay for your living costs. And based on the portfolio's past performance and other factors, we can retire roughly by the time I am, around 37. Now, take it with a grain of salt. This could be way off. For example, the living cost does factor in inflation rate, which I have set at 2.2%. But this inflation rate could be in the next 10, 20 years at 4%. I have no idea. I am also sure that we're all tired at this point of buying overpriced goods and inflated rent, if you know what I mean. But what this calculator does is it helps me figure out, in a semi-hypothetical future and world, when could I retire to do a less stressful job? The portfolio could hit a certain number, and I decide, I'm kind of done with my stressful job. I want to go work at a coffee shop to make delicious coffee, or I want to go try to make a side hustle to a business, or have some freedom to do things I love to do as hobbies, right? And this is what the hybrid path is set up for you to do, is that it's going to allow you to have options in life, and that's why I'm going to stick with it for as long as I can. So another question that you may be wondering is, well, how did I figure this out and calculate it? And the calculator that I have it built to predict my weaponized feature is what I call the portfolio file calculator. So what this calculator does is it takes your current portfolio statistics and past history to predict the future of your portfolio value in the next 10 to 20 years. It also takes into account when you like to make withdrawals in the future, how much you like to contribute to your portfolio, and it calculates your annual dividend amount compared to your living costs if your goal is to live off the dividend income. And this is from what I have experienced is the most hypothetical realistic portfolio calculator out there. Without going into too much detail that will likely bore everyone unless they are a financial nerd like me, in order to have a good representation of your portfolio value will be in the future, you need good data. A saying with modeling is that if you have bad data going in, you have bad data going out. So, with some grunt work, I have documented and gathered the statistics for over 400 stocks and ETFs needed to calculate your portfolio's value in the future. The database has over 400 stocks and ETFs of what I think are high quality. I'm not here to waste time with penny stocks, yield traps, small companies, or just bad companies in general. And also, I just want to take a rant about picking stocks and ETFs. This database should be used as a stepping point and it's not a final solution. The database does have good companies, but you still need to understand how these companies make money and whether they are a good fit for your timeline and financial goals. So if you use this database to build your portfolio, they'll go in and say, I want one of these, two of these, three of these. That's a Caddyshack reference if you didn't get that. And you use the database as a way to get familiar with the performance of different sectors, the types of ETFs that are out there, and what the difference is between a dividend king and a dividend contender. The database is there to help you get into investing, and again, it's more of a starting point, not a solution. Quickly, I want to show the calculator. Again, the calculator uses the statistics of the company's ETFs to calculate the future value of your portfolio. So first off, the calculator takes into account the initial amount that you have in your portfolio, the starting age when you would like to invest, the withdrawal age, so this is when you would like to retire or withdraw the money from your portfolio, the portfolio's 10-year capital appreciation rate, and the 3 and 5 year average dividend growth rate. And I like using the 3 and 5 year average dividend growth rate rather than using the 10-year dividend growth rate, as I think the market is usually too dynamic, volatile, and I think some points the 10-year dividend growth rate kind of lies or tricks the users that this stock consistently does 10% dividend increase when it could have slowed down the last 2 to 5 years. It also takes into account the 4-year average dividend yield. Again, I like to use averages rather than just a snapshot. Also, your monthly contributions, what your living expenses are per year, and then your monthly living expenses. This is just your yearly expenses divided by 12. This calculator does take into effect inflation. So the inflation is incorporated into the monthly living expenses. So each year your living expenses will increase based on the inflation rate that you have. I have it at 2.2%, but use what you would like. And also average a percentage increase of your monthly contributions. I think a lot of times people forget that you should have raises each year, so therefore you should also increase your monthly contributions. So I also have this as a factor. And lastly, you do get taxed on your dividends. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. And so with all this information, you can hypothetically figure out when you could retire using your own portfolio. Personally, I think the three crucial components of your portfolio are the weighted 10-year capital appreciation rate, the 3 and 5 year average dividend growth rate, and the 4-year average dividend yield. I think these metrics can tell you a lot about the portfolio of actually knowing what's inside the portfolio. And these metrics will help you theoretically predict your portfolio value and annual dividend income in the next 5, 10, or 20 years. My wife and I's DGI portfolio have a good combination of both capital appreciation and dividend growth rate, while the mortgage fund is more focused on growth and has a lower dividend yield. We plan for the time being to contribute more to the mortgage fund so it has more time and energy to grow. And we're taking a bit of a backseat for dividend growth investing portfolios. As we recognize that life isn't all about investing and retiring early, and we want to live our lives and try to have fun as much as possible. So we allocate more to the mortgage fund and also more to our shopping and date night categories and our conscious spending plan. If everything goes well and it goes to perfection, meaning we are consistent each year with our investing habits and nothing goes wrong, which is most definitely not the case nor true, my wife and I could stop working by the time we are in our late 30s with dividend income from our DJI portfolios and selling shares from our mortgage fund to pay for the rest of our living expenses. Currently, right now, we are putting $75 to our DGI portfolio and about 900 in our markets fund. And then once we stop saving up for a house, who knows what that will be, we will aggressively invest into the other all three portfolios. Some questions will come up as you look at this calculator and table, and I think the easiest one of all is that is this table too good to be true? And honestly, yeah, it is. A lot of things can happen with investing. For example, the market could drop 20 to 30% when we're about to retire. The portfolios that I created widely underperforms. We could have a kid 5 years from now. Someone in our family could get hurt, or we could get hurt. We have to buy a new car, a new roof, and so on. That calculates how I built won't factor in these random events, or what I call tail end events, because when investing, you don't know the future. The future is random. The historical averages are the best way to judge how the stock market will do in the future. So what you have at your disposal in two box is that the historical averages and knowing how the company makes money, what index the ETFs follows, and making sure you stay consistent and dollar cost average into your portfolio. Again, take everything that you've seen this whole video with a grain of salt. I know my wife tells me that every time I talk to her about this kind of stuff. And with that, if you're interested in this calculator or want to start investing but not really sure where to begin, I have built my Patreon page for that exact reason. I made my Patreon page in a way as if I were to travel back in time and to relearn everything about personal finances and investing, this is exactly where I would start. I have all sorts of spreadsheets and tools that have helped me in the past optimize my portfolio and match my future needs. It has also helped my wife greatly to learn more about investing, but in particular, the conscious spending plan has eased her anxiety about money managing. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee page if you are interested in checking that out. And on this page, I also list the FIRE portfolio calculator and also the conscious spending plan if you're interested in that as well. And that will do it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe, or reach out to me through Instagram or YouTube. Again, I am not a financial advisor. I'm still trying to figure out things in this realm, but I'm just a meteorologist with probably too much extra time on their hands during the weekend and weekdays. If you need financial advice or help, please contact a local financial advisor to ask questions about anything dealing with personal finances or investing, including retirement taxes and more. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.